Welcome to the Forsyth Magazines podcast. I'm Brooke Eagle, your host, bringing you the stories of the people shaping our community. From business owners to local leaders, we'll explore their journeys, passions, and lessons learned. Let's dive in. Hey guys, we have some very special guests today. We have Ann and Sarah with Trellis Supportive Care. Ann is the Senior Director of Public Relations, and Sarah is a board-certified music therapist. Hey ladies.
Hey, good to be here.
Yeah, good to see you again.
I know,
Happy to be
Ann,
here.
it's been a while since you've been on the podcast.
It has been.
It was time to have you back.
That's right.
So we were just talking before we started recording about the name change. You guys changed your name 8 years ago, almost 8 years ago.
Yeah, it was 2018.
That's crazy.
It seems like it was a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah. And you've been a friend of Trellis Supportive Care for quite a while.
Yes,
we were
quite some time.
We were hospice and palliative care center for years, but there was really a lot of confusion. People just sort of think there's just you pick the hospice in your county or your city.
Yeah. Or that you don't have a choice.
Yeah, right, right. So that was in part a way to differentiate ourselves, and we hope people will ask for us by name.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
So, Ann, tell us a little bit about Trellis Supportive Care in general and what
Sure.
Trellis does.
Yeah, the cornerstone of what we do is really providing hospice care. So when people are in their final chapters, typically it's when a physician's best guess is that a person's life expectancy is 6 months or less, that is when someone is appropriate for hospice care. So that's the bulk of what we do. We also provide a great deal of palliative care, which is a really, really growing segment of what we do. And then also a lot of people, their first contact with us is with grief counseling. Mm-hmm. We provide a tremendous amount of grief counseling, whether you've been a hospice patient and family member or not, anybody in the community. And we're able to do that free of charge. That's, I think, one of the things that's a little surprising. We are a nonprofit organization, and that tide is really changing in the last, 15 years. The lion's share of hospice organizations have become for-profit, but we're not. We're the first in the state. We have deep roots, and we're just so grateful for community support that helps us keep that nonprofit status. So we can put patients over profits, if you will.
Yeah, I love that. And I love the grief counseling. My a family member of mine actually was in grief counseling with you guys years ago and met her now husband in grief counseling.
That's fantastic.
Isn't that awesome?
I've heard a few stories like that. There have been a few groups, and it's just they bond, and a lot of them have had a similar loss. A lot of our support groups are set up that way.
Yeah.
People that have had a loss of a child or loss of a spouse.
Yeah.
And so,
because it's hard to relate to people that have not been through that. So I think it's important. I think that's a wise move to kind of group people together.
Yeah. That's an awesome story, though. I love that.
Yeah.
And I know of a few others like that, too.
Yeah.
Good deal.
I love it. So, Sarah, I want to talk a little bit about music therapy. I think that's just amazing. Tell us a little bit about, A, what drew you into this, and B, what exactly you do.
Sure, good question. So what drew me into music therapy? Firstly, my music background. I went to school for classical singing and went down that track for a while. But I also found myself really drawn to the hospice philosophy, just how holistic that is, and just the deep, multifaceted care you can provide to someone at end of life. My loved ones experienced peaceful deaths in hospice care as well. So this has been a great way to marry the two of those. I was fortunate to get an internship firstly with Trellis Supportive Care after my school training, and then I loved it here and I wanted to be able to stay full-time, and eventually I had that opportunity. So now I'm a full-time music therapist with Trellis. And to just give you the quick, maybe what we call elevator pitch of what music therapy is, we use music in many different ways to help support non-musical goals. So it's a clinical position. So in hospice or end-of-life care, that looks like the holistic support of someone physically, helping to trying to support folks with physical things they may be experiencing, like pain or agitation, emotional support, spiritual support, social support even. So that's what music therapy looks like for us in this setting.
I love that. And before we started recording, we were talking about a very cool patient story that you have. Do you mind sharing that with us?
Yes, I'd be happy to. This patient's family gave us permission to share about this really special experience we had in hospice care. This was a patient who was with us for a good while, which can be unusual sometimes, but great that we got to do so much within music therapy at that time. This man loved music, used music in so many ways therapeutically already, and we came together for social support because he was mainly bedbound at that time. And the way that grew was he got the bug for offering songwriting, what we would call clinical songwriting in music therapy that has a goal. And he started writing about the ways that he's been coping, with his disability and his health challenges through his life, really encouraging music. Another neat thing that happened during music therapy was that he retrieved some memories he hadn't been able to pull out for a long time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so music therapy music specifically lights up many parts of the brain that include, places that hold emotion, memory, rhythm, that kind of thing. So through the process of music, he was connecting with early memories, with his family, and was able to write a whole song reminiscing about that.
Oh, wow.
And shouting out to loved ones. Then, as the time drew nearer, he started thinking about the people in his life that he deeply loves and have supported him. So he wrote several songs for other family members, to talk about their relationship, what he loves about them, how grateful he is for them. And at that point, it really morphed into what we call legacy work. If someone comes onto hospice care, they could ask for a music therapy referral, or someone on their team could refer saying, hey, this patient would really like to leave something behind for their loved ones. That could look like songs, like this patient, or it could be multimedia. It can be really individually tailored to the person. So,
that's so special.
So this became a 6-song journey. We did 7 recordings where he
Wow.
sang and made music with me, all the way up to his homegoing ceremony where his family asked me to play some of these recordings so we could really honor him and his voice, honoring those family members who were there, and just a beautiful way to kind of close that relationship and that they have that lasting legacy, of his voice and his message to keep with them.
That's special. That has to be one of the your job is very rewarding, I'm sure, but that has to be a extra special moment.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Very extra special. Songwriting and legacy work isn't for everybody, but when those folks come along who are really motivated to do that, it's a really engaging and fruitful part of the work.
Yeah. And what are some other therapies that Trellis offers, Anne? Because I know that there's art therapy. Isn't there art therapy?
Yeah, there's, in fact, art therapy is used a good bit in our grief counseling, especially with children.
Yeah.
There's art therapy.
Camp Carousel does.
Yeah, Camp Carousel uses a lot of, play, art, creative stuff to help kids sort of process. They make masks, they use clay, they're drawing, they're out doing all kinds of art-based stuff to help express their feelings and emotions. But yeah, Sarah does the music. We also have, board certified like massage therapists.
Okay.
And like Sarah said, like the music might not be for everybody, but I think one of the things listeners might sort of dial into is that we offer sort of, if for lack of a better term, a menu of things, And so there are people, especially people with dementia, like when the caregivers watch their loved one, have a memory and like connect in a way maybe they haven't in weeks or months through music.
Yeah.
So those people are very interested in the music therapy.
Yeah.
We also do gentle touch massage therapy. And, if you think about someone maybe older, widowed, a little bit isolated, just the gentle touch alone could be just so nurturing.
Yeah.
So Sarah, what else? There's, in terms of those therapies,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it's so true that it brings back memories, because I know even for me, and I'm sure y'all can relate too, that when you hear certain songs, it does trigger very specific memories that you wouldn't have necessarily been able to reclaim without hearing the song.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's so true.
Yeah.
Kind of back to that whole, the music lights up the brain thing.
Yeah.
There's amazing literature about that. And when you were talking about dementia patients, and we can really see that, as music therapists, in those cases, we're specifically trying to use music from those people's young adulthood, childhood. There's something about those deep musical memories, just like how their long-term memory can be retained sometimes. I can spend time with a person who isn't really able to conversate anymore the way that they used to, but yet maybe they can sing all of the verses to their favorite hymn that they sang at church, or their favorite childhood song.
Yeah.
And that can be such a special way to get to engage with them, or otherwise there may be, kind of a communication breakdown sometimes. And we always welcome the families to be part of visits when they want to also, and that can just be a really special way to connect and engage together in music.
I love that. And I know this is like a common misconception, but you guys have the beautiful Kate B. Reynolds hospice home, but you also go to people's homes a lot too. Is that right?
Yeah. I would say on any given day, we are providing hospice care to about 430 patients.
Wow.
And on any given day, there's only 20 or 30 of those patients that would be in our beautiful hospice home. So that means, we're doing a lot of home care. One of the things we do, I was just thinking about the different therapies we offer. Pet therapy.
Oh, yes.
We've got some super volunteers that have, trained, pet certification or therapy certification for their pets. And, that's just such a treat. And
I love that.
and there's a couple that bring their pets through the office just to, say hi to the staff. So it's a sweet thing.
They make everybody's day when they come by.
Oh my gosh, yes. My dog is not officially a therapy dog, but he is for me. He's my therapy dog.
He makes people smile too,
That's
right?
right. Yeah. That's right.
Whether he's wearing a badge or not.
So does Trellis have anything? I know Derby Day is coming up. How are ways that we can support and donate to Trellis, whether that be monetarily or with our time?
Yeah, we're always seeking volunteers. And there might be people listening that are like, oh, I wouldn't be comfortable. That's not for me. We do a lot of other things, though, too. Like people can do, a pantry drive. We keep a pantry at the hospice home for families that come in, so they don't have to leave their loved ones if they just want a snack or a light meal and coffee and that kind of thing. We also, just do. This is another amazing thing. We If a family meets, a need for that they need nutritional support, we deliver groceries. We actually provide, food.
Oh, wow.
And nutrition for some of our families that have a need. And so there's volunteers that just do that. So anyway, there are definitely volunteer opportunities with patients or otherwise. And then absolutely, financial contributions are fantastic. We just finished our Hope Run. It was a huge success. The Derby Party is coming up. So participation in fundraising events, or just a gift. I think one of the things that is remarkable about Trellis, and of course, we work there. We're biased, right? But I think it would surprise people the extent to which we go above and beyond. We know that on any given day we might have 430 patients. But when our team is with that one patient in that one house, with that one family, and there's an important event coming up, or there's just something super meaningful for them, we're going to do whatever we can to nurture that and to make it happen. And like I said, as a nonprofit organization, I'll tell you that we do rely in part on fundraising events and on gifts.
Yeah.
To be able to keep adding these sort of layers of support. But it's those layers of support that just make such a difference. We're fully committed to it. And yes, I'm so glad you brought that up. Just trellissupport.org is our website, and there's obviously a big donation button there. So
yeah. I love that. And the
it's
Derby
easy.
Party is always a ton of fun. The Hope Run, always a ton of fun. If you missed this year, you can check it out next year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do y'all have any other events or anything happening?
You know, one of
this year?
the things we do during the holidays is we have these lovely porcelain ornaments, and they can be personalized with the loved one's name. So, you know, you can give one to a friend with their loved one's name in it, either, you know, in memory or in honor of. But it's a really nice keepsake. It's a thoughtful gift. Of course, that's something we do more during the holidays, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, Trellis, I've been a part of Trellis and to some extent for many years. And it's one of those nonprofits that I love lots of nonprofits, but it's one of those that I kind of also had the feeling before I really got involved that like, oh, this is too like sad for me. I don't want to be a part of it. But of course there is some sadness, but it's also very beautiful and rewarding and meaningful to be a part of Trellis support.
Yeah. I've been there a long time too. And I know when I lost my father, I'm not sure that I would have accessed the support for him when I did had I not worked there myself. And I think, you know, it's just one of those things that people might shy away from, but the sooner you get to know us and how we can help, I really don't know what we would have done in my father's case if I sort of had insider information. You know, I'd worked there for years, and I said to my mom, I said, gosh, you know, maybe we should get a palliative care consultation, which quickly turned into a hospice admission. But it is just, I just think about people who have the end of life without hospice support versus with. And as much as you might kind of shy away from thinking about it or embracing the notion of it, it is such a huge sigh of relief. It just don't be afraid. It's a tough call to make, right?
Sure.
But once you make that call, it's just like, there's all this support that I don't know what people would do without it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I think people think of it as like giving up, but I don't really think that's the case. I think it's crucial and makes the end of life so much better.
Yeah.
It's all about that quality of life focus. And,
Yeah.
So many different kinds of support that you can receive in that space.
Yeah. Well, it was such a pleasure to chat with you ladies today. And hopefully, if you are listening, you will make plans to attend the Derby Party. And you can check out trellissupport.org.
Yep.
For details about events they have coming up, ways you can donate, ways you can volunteer, and even I'm sure ways if you have a loved one who maybe, how does that process work? If you I think it's good to just be aware of the process.
A lot of people wait for their physician to make a referral, but anybody can make a referral, you know, and a lot of people do call and or just jump on our website. We have a way to engage, you know, just through start a conversation. And we do get a tremendous amount of people that just say, you know, mom's diagnosed, dad is not in a position to care. Can you help? And that's all we need to know to start the conversation. It's not that complicated. And usually kind of in your gut, you know.
Yeah.
And one of the questions that I think people ought to ask themselves is, would you be surprised if this person was alive a year from now? And if the answer is, yeah, that would surprise me, then call us and let's just start a conversation about what can we put in place so that their life is as good as it can be and you as a caregiver have all the tools and peace of mind you need to enjoy that final chapter.
Yeah, because being a caregiver is tough.
Yeah.
Like it's very tough. And I think it's important that, you know, you do kind of alleviate some of that stress and anxiety by allowing someone like Trellis to come in and help.
We offer a lot of, we could go on. I know we'll wrap this up, but since you say caregiver, we do offer free caregiver confidence workshops every month.
Oh, that's really good to know. I didn't know that.
I think it's the third and fourth Wednesday of every month. We either do it on our campus in Winston-Salem or at the new Senior Services Intergenerational Center.
Okay.
But yeah, you know, so if you are a caregiver and you're like at your wit's end, you just need some support or some practical tools, you know, how to track medications, how to keep your home safer, how to lift your person out of the chair without hurting your back.
Yeah.
You know, it's everything. It's A to Z, free of charge, thanks to our donations.
Oh,
you know?
I love that.
Yeah. Something to think about for people who are caregivers.
You need to talk to my wife before you walk out the door.
Okay.
She's right there.
She's right there.
Happy to do that.
Yeah. Well, Ann, Sarah, nice to meet you, Sarah. Nice to see you, Ann.
Yeah, you too. Thanks
And
for having us.
We'll have y'all back again soon.
That'd be great.
And as always, you can find Forsyth Mags online at forsythmags.com and on social media at Forsyth Mags. And that's a wrap for today. The views and opinions stated on this podcast are solely those of the contributors and not necessarily those of our distributors or hosting companies. This podcast is copyrighted and cannot be reproduced without expressed written consent of Forsyth Magazines Incorporated. Ooh, that's a mouthful.